I'm going to go through the roadmap, what we're currently working on. Hopefully you'll see that a lot of it is in relation to some of the things you're talking about. So I'm going to talk about the roadmap, what we're currently working on, what we've got scheduled coming up. I'll talk a little bit about some enhancements to the reporting. We know the reporting is quite difficult to use at the moment. There's a number of reasons for that, but I'll just quickly run through some enhancements which we'll be releasing next week on that. So yeah, I'll run through that. So we've got a couple of developers on the platform now, and so that's probably why you haven't really seen any sort of ongoing enhancements to the product for a while. There's just been going through some organisation change, but that's settled down now. We've got 2 developers on the platform. They started a couple of weeks ago, and they were tasked with some minor enhancements just to get them up and running with the platform. So they've made some slight amendments to the platform, which will come out next week. So 2 things which we did add. So at an organisation group level, you are right that the reporting is very basic. We have introduced the ability to export the data. So if you go through this export feature now, it'll export the form submissions. It is only the form submissions, but what you'll see is a bit more detail. So every time a form's submitted, you'll be able to get the delivery method. So if it's come through the website or if it's from patient access, pull through the patient age, gender, postcode, district and date and time. This can be used at an organisation level. So you're all set up in the system, and this is a demo system at an organisation level. But we also have a concept of organisation groups. And an organisation group is basically just a group of organisations. It's not fussed about, where it is or whichever CCG, etc. So organisation groups can be set up very easily. And organisation groups let you share topics and forms that are configured, but it also lets you do reporting. So we enhanced the reporting so that you can look at a year's worth of data, and we enhanced it so that it will be able to show form submissions through EMIS Web and Patient Access. So you should get that beginning of next week. In terms of the reporting, we also have the capability of Google Analytics. Now, this does have a lot more information in it. So it has red flags that have been generated, external links that have been clicked, forms started but not submitted, and red flags. It also profiles trends, so date and time of when people have been viewing the website, the devices. It goes into quite a lot of detail. So I think that's something which Lisa's working on to get that information to you, so you have a more concise view of how your patients are interacting with online consult. We've got a couple of sprints. So a sprint's 2 weeks of work. So we can get the form into the EMIS web practice and it comes into the workflow manager. However, there is an extra admin matching process, which I'll talk about shortly. For the TPP and Vision sites, we're having to do a little bit of work to get the capability of the form coming into the clinical system. They're working on that now. We should have that done in the next few weeks, and then we'll roll that out to the TPP and Vision practices. It was unforeseen work, so it actually impacted on the image upload, but it needs to be done as soon as possible. So once they've done that work, they'll move on to the image upload in online consult. So I can just give you a flavour of how that'll work. So it'll be available on website and devices and also patient access. So a patient will fill out the form. When they get to a point in the form, they can add an image, a photo. So depending on the device, they'll basically be able to take a photo or choose from their library. It'll upload it into the viewer, so they'll be able to see it and they'll be able to type some narrative around it. And this is just going through the tablet version, again, going through the same sort of process. It's going to be configurable form level, so we'll add the component for photo upload into the forms that are already there. But you will be able to use it and create your own forms if you want to do that as well. In terms of the PDF, we're making amendments to the PDF. We know we're getting some feedback at the moment in terms of the quality and actually using the space correctly rather than having it necessarily on 2 pages. So there's a piece of work to look at how we make it easier from a reader's point of view. And then that'll have the image embedded into the actual PDF at the end, or wherever within the form it was selected by the patient. So that's image upload. We think that'll take about 3 sprints, 2 sprints, not 3 sprints. Yeah, 3 sprints. That'll take us up to beginning of July. This piece of work is all about how do we make it easier, so reducing the need to match the patient up. Like you've highlighted, the matching, basically, it's not as accurate, so it tends to not match up automatically. There is a service which we can use, which will basically pull through the patient's NHS number. If we get that, then in theory it should do an automatic match into the clinical system, which will ease that extra process you're having to do at the moment. At the same time, we're looking to improve the way it works in the workflow manager. I haven't got timescales on this, but we've already had the conversation in terms of how we'd achieve that. At the moment, you're finding that the forms, if you've got patient access and online consult switched on, if they come from online consult, they're going to be unmatched, and then depending on how it's configured, it'll go into either the filing or coding folder. If you've got patient access enabled, they'll be going into the online triage folder. So the idea is that to streamline it and get them just moved straight into the online triage folder. So as that progresses, I'll be able to give you an update on that. That's a separate piece of work. That's why it's not on this board. There's a little bit of work to improve the audit trail, so giving you visibility of when users have accessed, either activated a form, deactivated a form, etc. Email notification is basically the patient receiving the PDF in a patient-friendly format, so they've got visibility of the information that they submitted. We're looking at redesigning the website version. So as it's been highlighted, the patient access version and the web-based version look different to a patient. So if they go onto the website version, they may feel it's a different product. So what we're looking at doing is aligning these, so the design of the website version becomes very similar to the patient access one. So the journey is very similar, as well as feeding in and some of the enhancements to improve, you know, the way the patient interacts with the website. So that'll move us into around September. We're looking at, we get this quite a lot, and it's in quite a lot of the tenders, the ability to temporarily disable a form being submitted. And so that's an area we're currently looking at. So the ability to say maybe you know, on a Friday evening between 5 and 8, the patient will be able to go onto online consult, view the topics, but not necessarily submit a form. So that's a small piece of work. So that's the work that's currently scheduled, and we're currently working through that. Obviously, as you get a bit further down the line, we've got the capability of bringing things forward and moving things back depending on users' need. But that's it as it stands. The backlog items, which is the items which haven't been prioritized yet. So this is a bit like a catch of feedback from sessions like this and feedback from various other stakeholders. So we know we've mentioned the reporting. The difficulty we have with the reporting is that we've got data in patient access, we've got data in online consult, we've got data in EMIS Web, TPP and Vision. So it's all in different pots. The Google Analytics was a way of sort of bringing it into sort of having a one single view, but it's still missing some information. So in terms of the products at EMIS Health, we're rebuilding all our products, including the EMIS X Analytics. And that'll give us the capability of presenting all the things you're asking for, rather than them being in siloed areas, but into one web page. So we'll get to the point of basically pushing all the data for online consult, patient access, EMIS Web, and any third parties into that data source, and then we'll be able to give you a view on that data and the ability to trend it. So things like CCG, practice views, forms started, forms completed, red flags, external links, and this, we're currently shaping this. So if you have, opinions of what needs to be in there, we'll welcome that feedback. Because the clinical data will be in there, we'll be able to map it to outcomes and data within the record as well. So that's an area we're currently exploring. It's sort of small steps on the reporting at the moment with a bigger view of giving you a more robust platform for reporting. We're currently in discussions with NHS Digital about using the NHS logon as an option, not as default. We're currently discussing presenting the forms in the NHS app. So you can either go onto Patient Access or you can go onto the standalone website. Or patient will be able to fill out the form through the NHS app, submit it, and then it will come into your clinical system. Form submission improvements is work around presenting the forms to the patient. And these are concepts, and then we'll research them and work with our users to define them further. Improvements to the patient experience, discussing integration into the Symphony system, which is an urgent emergency system. There's some discussions there as well. So that's the roadmap as it stands. As I say, as we move through and develop this, we're happy to share this with you. I think this is a really good forum to get feedback on things that are not working well and how we fix them.